Hey, what up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you today. I wanted to make a video about what I was thinking about on my way to work. I was honestly listening to the Brian and Vinny show as they were talking about the announcement last night that Spike TV had said that they were going to be no longer running Impact Wrestling come the fall. They were breaking off negotiations. I know that Dixie Carter went to Twitter today saying that negotiations with Spike TV were still ongoing, and they still had a show on Thursday that was Destination X, and they want to have a good showing, and they want to go from there. But I want to know what TNA's legacy is going to be 10 years from now. Honestly, the way that people remember WCW isn't the way that I remember WCW in my dying days. There's a lot of people out there who like to claim that WCW was running a great show, and it was dumped by Turner Broadcasting, and that's what made them sell out, and Vince McMahon bought it up, and Vince McMahon, tells a whole lot of lies about basically his product being a lot better than WCW, and it wasn't really what was going on. I watched those shows in those dying days. I mean, because of the WWE Network, you can go on there now, watch that last WCW pay-per-view, watch Sin. It wasn't good. Nitro and Thunder, week in and week out, made really no sense to what was going on. Once those Nitros are added on, you can really tell that last year that the inmates honestly really were running the asylum. Guys just basically said if they wanted to work or if they didn't want to work. You can tell guys go into the ring and they just want to get their match over with. There are guys on the card who really, are really believing if they put hard work in that they are going to get over. You can tell a lot of the guys in the undercard know if they go out there and they give a good match, they're going to get booked next week. If they get booked on next week's show, they're more likely going to be on the house shows, and that's basically how you get the most money out of your contract. So those guys were out there really busting their ass, going out there to really try. When I think about TNA, I'm honestly going to think that they always were the company that would take the next step in order to grow their company. If you think about, when they started this up, it was Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett honestly started the company because he knew there wasn't a place in the United States for him to work. If you go back, I believe it's Fully Loaded, but I could be wrong. The match that he had, he sort of double-crossed Vince. He didn't have a contract. His contract expired. He held the Intercontinental Championship. He had already, negotiated a deal to leave WWF to go to WCW, and he was going to be there on Monday Nitro. He needed something to sort of convince him to show up to the pay-per-view that he wasn't contractually. He didn't have to be there if he didn't want to, even though they booked him to be in this match against China. His contract expired. Somehow WWE let this lapse, and they never had him drop the belt. They pushed him into this match. He wasn't crazy about losing to a woman, but he was going to lose to a woman if that's what he had to do. I've heard the numbers is 6 figures in order for him to show up and do this match. Vince McMahon never really forgot that. Who knows if Vince is forgiven Jeff? But basically, on that last Nitro, you could hear Vince openly bury him, and there was no talks about TNA. It wasn't known that Jeff Jarrett was going to start his own company up, that he was going to be Vince's United States rival. So if he didn't have heat with him, there's no reason for him to bury him on that show. So Jeff starts this up. It starts as a weekly pay-per-view deal. They shoot a few episodes. They show them on TV. If you want to buy them, you can watch them. And it grows from there. From there, they end up being on Fox Sports. On Fox Sports, that deal dies out. I think they were just basically an internet company where they were running shows off of their website. You can go watch them on there to keep up to date with what was going on in order to get them to where they were on Spike TV, where they got put on Saturdays. But, along this way, they had their roster of guys, and people liked watching them. Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, and a few, WCW guys along the way. There was some hijinks. I don't know. I didn't watch those shows. I read the results of them on the internet. They didn't seem like something that I had to see. Even though they had guys on the roster like Disco Inferno who I liked, I wasn't going to go out of my way to pay the $10 or whatever it was in order to watch them. But through, signing Raven after he lost his WWE deal, signing Rhino, signing Christian Cage, which was huge. Christian Cage turned into Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle turned into Hulk Hogan, and you can honestly see that Hulk Hogan is a bigger star than Kurt Angle is, but was he able to give TNA what they needed? I mean, honestly, he was a big deal. They put him out there on every television show. He was able to do radio. He was able to do TV. He was able to do press in order to, get people knowing about TNA. But a lot of times when he was doing that press, the only thing he was talking about was WWE, WrestleMania 3, wrestling onto the Giants. So it was making Hogan a bigger star. But was it really, making TNA well known at all? I mean, you get to do a 10-minute interview, and at the end you say, oh yeah, TNA is going to be in town on Thursday, make sure you go see the show. Are you going to go see the show? I don't know. A few times they built up. I think I really wanted to see a Hulk Hogan versus Bully Ray match, but he just wasn't able to do it. I think that was the biggest thing they were able to do. Another thing that I'm always going to remember about TNA is the way they listen to fans. And some people say they listen to fans better than WWE does. Honestly, in my opinion, they would listen to fans, but they would listen to them way too late. If you thought about, they made a big deal about bringing the six-sided ring back. Honestly, since I believe 2010, they've been running with the four-sided ring, and it is what it is. But if they would have listened to the fans 4 years ago, they never would have got rid of the six-sided ring. I guess that was Hogan and Bischoff who decided that they needed to change to a more traditional style a wrestling ring, maybe tone back and be what everybody else was. The six-sided ring is what maybe set them apart to where people wanted to see, what was going on in there. There's other things out there, them bringing guys back, letting guys go. I don't know. Dixie Carter, as somebody who stepped up and bought this company when it should have gone down, when their back was against the wall. Honestly, they almost went out of business in 2005 when Spike TV came back and picked them up and ended up putting them on that Saturday deal. I don't know. I know there's a lot of people out there who really like TNA for what it is now, but I'm wondering what people are going to think about it. In 10 years, are people going to magically forget, just how bad the writing was at some times and clamor for that? Honestly, I know when I think back about WCW and I think about WWE, sometimes the funnier stuff that doesn't make sense is the stuff that sticks out in my mind, and I'm able to remember those things better. And you have a good memory. I mean, who hasn't with the WWE Network gone back and watched the Shockmaster debut? Things like that always stick in your mind, and you remember where you were when those things happened, and you want to relive those moments. There are a lot of great matches. I think the Ultimate X is one thing that's going to stand out. A lot of the early X Division stuff. AJ Styles matches in a whole. Those matches are going to be awesome, and people are always going to want those. But I don't know. I mean, honestly, I think that when Jeff Jarrett didn't sell out of the company when he left earlier this year in order to start Global Force Wrestling, I thought he left because he knew that when TNA went down, the one thing that was going to be worth more than anything was the tape library, and he wanted to be in on that sale when it goes down in order to get paid on what he put into TNA. Honestly, somebody's going to buy it. Somebody has to own it. I don't really see an independent company buying it in order to make their own DVDs. The only person in town that I think that can scoop that up, that can use it, is WWE. It just matters how they want to use it. Are they just going to make a Death of TNA DVD, put some shows up on the network and just go from there and just sort of use that stuff as their own? They almost treat WCW like it was their own company. I know that they ran with WCW as their own sort of brand during the invasion, but the way they treat it is almost like it was always once their own, unless they're making a documentary, and then they always treat it like, this was a company that came out from underneath Vince, beat him for a little bit, and then Vince beat him into oblivion where they had to close the doors. TNA is a company that was always under WWE. They were a threat in my mind. Honestly, 2006, Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe, that stuff, they were close. I mean, they weren't there, but they were close. That was as close as they ever got. How are they going to talk about that in history with WWE? They've only brought up TNA a few times. I think they've said it on the, on a few documentaries. And people always make a big deal about it when somebody says it. I think it was on the Mick Foley DVD. He talks about going to... No, that was on the CM Punk DVD. They interview Mick Foley, and Mick Foley says he goes to Vince and he tells him, you got to sign CM Punk and you got to sign Samoa Joe. And Samoa Joe, honestly, he went to WWE. Samoa Joe went to TNA, and you can negotiate that back and forth. Some people have said that WWE offered Samoa Joe the Umaga role. Who knows how that really would have worked out? I don't really see Umaga as being a character in WWE today. They honestly, they let the guy go. They brought him back, and they did what they did. And who knows how it really would have worked out in the end. But I don't know. What do you guys think people will remember TNA in 10 years? I mean, 2015, 10-year anniversary of TNA closing. Who knows what they're going to do? What's WWE going to want to remember them as? I guess is the one thing you have to think of, because I think everybody knows that tape library is going to WWE Network, make some DVDs. I think that's the best thing for them. Peace out.